If you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, click the like and subscribe button below as it helps with the algorithm so you'll be notified when new and exciting episodes come out.
Well, I wanted to go to Antarctica. My filmmaking partner Wes Skiles wanted to go to Antarctica, and so we were planning on following Shackleton's route from New Zealand to the Ross Sea, the route that he took on the Transantarctic expedition, and sort of following his footsteps, creating a movie that we could release like 100 years after his explorations. So I'm doing all the research. I'm writing the scripts, preparing, like, this is going to be my first documentary film that I've fully written and produced. And then I'm watching like satellite images of the Ross Ice Shelf, watching these cracks develop. And then the largest iceberg in recorded history calves away from the Ross Ice Shelf. So suddenly, like, the largest moving object on the planet is out in the Ross Sea. And so I said to Wes, I said, let's go. Let's go. There's going to be caves inside there. And he's like, what? And I said, yeah, I mean, the ice is like, it's like limestone, it, it, it wears out and cracks and crevices too, and is enlarged by water moving through it. There's got to be caves inside there. Let's go be the first people to ever cave dive inside an iceberg. So we managed to convince National Geographic to fund this crazy project, and we left from New Zealand to cross the Southern Ocean and get to the Ross Ice Shelf to do this. Yeah.
How was your experience? And I guess should I say how was also was it
Paul's
Wes
experience?
or Paul? I was gonna say, I think it was Paul that he had a more a rougher time crossing
Yeah.
the Roaring
Yeah.
Forties, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who go to Antarctica have to cross the Drake Passage, and that's 24, 36 hours of discomfort at times. But when you go to the Ross Ice Shelf, it's 12 days. 12 days and up to 60-foot seas. And Paul Paul's first volley of vomit was like 30 seconds after we left the dock. So by the time we got to Antarctica, he was pretty weak. Yeah.
He must have
Yeah.
been cursing you up a storm the whole way.
Yeah, I think at one point he like, I was sick quite a bit too. I mean, don't get me wrong, but not as sick as he was. But at one point he literally reached out of the bunk and grabbed me and said, "You lied to me." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" He says, "You said this was a 12-day crossing." And I'm like, "It is." But Paul's French Canadian, and so some nuances of the English language are slightly lost in translation from his native French. So he said, "That's 6 days down and 6 days back. That's a 12-day crossing." And I'm like, oh, no, 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 it's 12 days down. Then
And
the
12 days
expedition
back.
and 12 days home. And he's like, "I'm going to die before we get there." Yeah.
So okay, so then you get there, and
Mhm.
then how long did you guys spend there, and what were some of the stuff? So like,
Yeah.
I mean, icebergs are moving. Like, did you
Yeah.
guys? What was your guys' logic and thoughts on once you got there?
Well, I mean, there's no handbook for something that hasn't been done before. So we were kind of rewriting the rules every day. I mean, pressing the boat through pack ice to even get there, getting stuck in the pack ice, like getting the boat frozen over with rime ice so bad that we had to beat it off with hammers and baseball bats, like all of that, right?
Were you worried you were going to become Shackleton as well with the?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when we were stuck in the ice, I kinda had my moment of thinking, it's a nice sunny day today. However, when the darkness descends in the Antarctic winter s
Could not be so fun. I don't know if I
and
want to be.
crushes our ship." Yeah.
You're like,
I
oh, these
mean,
are beautiful seals, and then now you're going to have to use them to survive.
yeah. There's nobody coming to rescue you, and we'd actually received a letter from the American Coast Guard saying, "We don't approve of what you're doing." And it was basically, based on the fact that I, decided we were gonna use rebreathers for the project. And they did not have, a line for, use of rebreathers in Antarctica, so that we didn't even get a permit from the National Science Foundation in America. We had to get our Antarctic permit from New Zealand, and New Zealand said, "Rebreathers? Yeah, what are those? Go for it."
Yeah, they can.
But because of our use of rebreathers, the Americans actually sent us a letter saying, "If something happens to you, we're not coming." I'm like, "Okay, fair
But why
enough.
why did
Good
they
to
have
know."
such an aversion to the rebreathers, given the fact that, like, I think Bill, I mean, he worked with the military, I think, on this stuff too. So, like, wouldn't they have had of all people, I would have thought they would have had trust knowing that,
Yeah.
it wasn't I mean,
It wasn't part of their science program, so, I mean, the National Science Foundation, they'll take years to develop the safety guidelines and the protocols and everything for use of any new equipment, but especially for life support equipment, and they just hadn't gone through that process yet. So, they're
the
like,
bureaucracy was behind, okay, gotcha.
plus, at that point, we're talking 25 years ago, so rebreathers were pretty new, and also there were a lot of people dying on rebreathers. So, um, you know, th they had a very valid safety concern, but we had developed the protocols that we felt were right for the job, and we're ready to do it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the dives that I did, I wouldn't have survived on open circuit, and I knew the dives that I wanted to do, just weren't safe to do on open circuit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
that's the thing with the rebreathers is, I mean, it gives such a level of safety given the fact that time doesn't really become the issue so much anymore. It's
And
just
in cold water, I mean, you've gotta prevent freeze-ups, and freeze-ups are very common on open circuit and especially in a high workload environment, and we knew we were gonna have all of those things, like water that's minus 2.8, so sub-zero, um, high flow, conditions, difficult, and we wanted the range too, that time buffer, which we ended up needing in order to get out of an iceberg. Yeah.
yeah, well, so tell us, so how close
Mhm.
was that call? And I mean,
Mhm.
what was that like for you?
Yeah, so we have one dive, where, the currents flipped on us unexpectedly, and we're racing, and at the same time, I've got a hole in my glove. My hand's getting cold, and our dive plan was a one-hour dive, but we got stuck in the iceberg, and that dive turned into a three-hour literal fight for our lives to get out of the iceberg and fight that flow. 'Cause, you know, when the tide changes, like, by the time the tide changes, I think I would have been a popsicle, so so we
No,
had to get out against the flow. Yeah.
gotcha. Now, did you
Mhm.
guys ever think about running line? Now, I know this is gonna sound okay, because I was gonna say this sounds crazy, because the one I could think of is when you people do ice diving and they cut a hole, they have to run a line
Yeah, we run a line.
down.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha.
But a cave line is not enough to pull yourself out of the cave. Like, when you're tethered to the surface for ice dives, it's usually on a quarter-inch rope, and you have a tender topside who can pull you out. But when you're cave diving inside an iceberg, that's not feasible. Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha. And
yeah.
and the currents are like, I mean, they what, 2 knot currents, or like they're ripping?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is they're unpredictable. You can't just look up a tide chart. You don't know what to expect. I mean, we were on a full moon tide cycle, but, until it happened, we didn't know. Just like, in Antarctica, you get some pretty crazy vertical currents too, because any ice that's not moored to the bottom is bouncing up and down, and so it's creating its own localized surge that can suddenly, take you on an elevator down. But even just in the mixing temperatures of water, the vertical currents are pretty extreme.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's Antarctica is just like it's pretty crazy, and,
Mm.
now did you guys obviously penguins, what was the main thing you guys were studying there?
Well, we mainly wanted to go to document the cave that was just a hypothesis, right? But we did have some other scientists on board, so we had a cetacean specialist that did find a new species of a new subspecies of killer whale, and then we were also working on jellyfish on that project as well. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
Alright, so I have a couple questions. So one, I mean,
Uh-huh.
I guess you have a future what are some future projects you guys are working on? So obviously
Mhm.
you were just working on we were talking about, a project up in Canada
Yeah,
with
yeah, I mean, that's gonna keep me busy for the rest of my life. I've got so much work to do up here, and I'm pretty much doing it on my own in this remote region, so it's slow going, but it's incredibly rewarding, and I'm really, really excited about this work. Yeah, but yeah, I got a few other things up my sleeve.
well, and it's nice that, like, that's in your backyard, right? So that's also
Right.
and so that's a
Mhm.
big project. So that's definitely exciting. Now, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, do you have a project to the Galapagos coming up?
I am, yeah, I'm leading a couple trips to the Galapagos, one with open circuit, one with closed circuit, so I'm really excited about that. It's a place I've wanted to go my whole life, so
Wait, have you never been?
no, this will be my
Oh
first,
my god.
yeah, I'm
Hey,
so excited. Yeah.
We've been down I mean, it is out of this world, like,
Yeah.
Galapagos is incredible. Do you know, are you gonna be focused on Isabella? Are you focused on which of the islands,
I think we're gonna move around quite a bit, yeah, so, yeah, we're
yep,
boat-based, so yeah, yeah,
and is
yeah.
that all cave related?
No, no, not at all, yeah, I've got one group of open circuit divers and one group after that of CCR divers, so it's all gonna be wildlife, yeah, but there are caves in the Galapagos, interestingly, yeah, yeah,
Gotcha. I
yeah,
would see as one of the guys that we met when we were down there, he's, been I think one of the guys that Nat Geo and Discovery use quite frequently. He's been there for 30 years, used to be a fisherman, this guy Macaron, and when we were down there at first, they the usual took us didn't do the best stuff, and then we ended up linking up with him, and
mm,
he knew pathways and different
yeah,
routes through some of the stuff that were just, out of this world, so,
yeah, yeah.
but, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the guides in Galapagos, it's like it's a pretty serious serious undertaking even to be, like, qualified as a guide down in Galapagos, and then as far as I know, there's only one group that does CCR stuff, so yeah,
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 the currents, I mean, you have all 3 of the currents that kinda converge, and so, I mean, you get these thermoclines. I mean, water will be 70 something, and then all of a sudden it's 55 or it's,
right, right,
it really hits you, so,
yeah.
now, just a couple other have you done, obviously, I imagine have you done Calvera in, Temple of Doom in Mexico? Have you dove that cenote?
Temple of Doom? Yeah, yeah, I did some exploration in there. Yeah,
What's your
yeah,
take on that? Because, like, when I was down there, I mean, they were having issues. People were because it's like a maze, right?
mhm, yeah, um when I first started diving there, it's kind of interesting. It didn't have any infrastructure around it. In fact, the first time I went there, we had to climb down the tree roots to get into the big entry sinkhole
'Cause there
kind of
wasn't a
thing.
ladder, right? I mean, otherwise everybody
No.
jumps in from the top, but then they use a
Yeah.
ladder to get out. You guys were using tree roots? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then when they did build a ladder, it's like, "Oh my god, like, what do they think we have, like, giant, like, giant legs to get
Yeah.
the distance up this ladder with all our gear on and everything?" Um, but yeah, there was a terrible one of the worst caving, accidents there when a dive master, I hope I've got my facts right because it was so long ago, but a dive master from Cancun brought a group around and took them on a cave dive and wasn't a cave, guide or anything like that. None of the customers were, and there was multiple fatalities, including one in the Madonna Passage, when someone, broke away from the group just trying to find a way out before they ran out of gas, and there was I'll never forget this vision of a body print in the silt in the Madonna Passage, just going, "Holy shit, this is where the person just gave it up and laid down to die," and that left just an indelible, imprint in my brain. Yeah,
Oof. Yeah, I
yeah,
was gonna so you actually saw the body print? 'Cause
yeah,
the way
yeah.
I was there I was diving there, like, I think it happened 3 days before or, I was diving there, and they
Mhm,
had said that it was a UK girl who was, like, she wasn't cave certified, but I think she was guiding, and she took these people that were supposed to just be doing a cavern
mhm.
dive, and then she took them into the cave and then off the line, and then she lost them,